With 89 guns for every 100 people, the U.S. by far has the most number of guns per capita. In total, there are about 310 million weapons in the United States. While that sounds alarming, the number of guns isn't necessarily the problem. Indeed, according to CNN, several European countries have a high prevalence of gun ownership as well. Switzerland 46 guns per 100 people, Finland 45 per 100, and Sweden 32 per 100 are all packing pretty serious heat. And mass shootings aren't strictly an American problem. Contrary to popular wisdom, mass shootings do happen in Europe. In fact, numbers provided by PolitiFact show that the U.S. has fewer mass shooting victims per capita 0.31 per 100,000 than Switzerland 0.40 per 100,000, Finland 0.78 per 100,000, and Norway 1.94 per 100,000, but far more than countries like England 0.04 per 100,000 and Germany 0.09 per 100,000. Of course, some of these countries are rather small, like Norway. So a single incident can greatly distort the statistics. PolitiFact's data say that from 2000 to 2014, there was only one mass shooting each in Norway and Switzerland, but 133 in the United States. So it does seem that the U.S. has a higher frequency of mass shootings. Is there a way to prevent mass shootings? No, they cannot be prevented entirely. However, they can be reduced, and the impact of any one shooting can be diminished. I believe the U.S. should consider the following: require gun manufacturers to design guns that cannot be altered to become automatic. Automatic weapons are basically machine guns. A person holds the trigger, and bullets come flying out. A semi-automatic weapon only fires a single bullet with each pull of the trigger, but these guns can be altered to act like automatic weapons. Gun manufacturers should be required to assemble guns that are unable to undergo such a modification. A national gun buyback program. The one thing criminals like more than guns is money and sex. While the government can't offer them the latter, they can offer them the former. In New Jersey, where else, one person turned in a rocket launcher, and others turned in over 700 illegal weapons, such as sawed-off shotguns. Universal background checks. Great freedom requires great responsibility. Anyone who wants to purchase a weapon should submit to a universal background check. Mandatory firearm training. In addition to universal background checks, any person who wants to purchase a gun should be required to take a class on how and when to use it. Involuntary institutionalization. Until 1955, when the U.S. began the process of deinstitutionalization, it was normal for people who were mentally ill to be involuntarily committed. The advent of effective psychiatric medications, plus the horrifying conditions in which some patients lived, resulted in the nation phasing out these asylums. Unfortunately, today, there is very little society does for people who are unwilling or unable to care for themselves. We are extremely hesitant to force treatment on people who don't want it. But this policy is no longer sustainable when some mass shootings are perpetrated by severely mentally ill people. The 2011 shooting in Tucson, for instance, was perpetrated by a person with paranoid schizophrenia. Stop naming the culprits. For whatever reason, some mass shooters want to leave Earth in what they imagine to be a blaze of glory. Without fail, their full names, middle names, to become known globally. They get non-stop, 24-hour news coverage and Wikipedia bios. If the media stopped naming the culprit, it would eliminate the incentive of notoriety that likely serves as a partial motivation for mass shootings. The Hebrew language has a curse for these people: Yimik Shemo. May his name be obliterated. The proper response to a mass shooter is to wipe his name from our memory. Certainly, it is unlikely these proposals would have mattered in the recent Las Vegas massacre. The perpetrator had no known political or religious affiliation, and he had no history of crime or mental illness. He may have had a compulsive gambling problem, but as yet, there appears to be no reason for him to have been on the radar of law enforcement. Determining a motive, therefore, will be an important part of the investigator's mission. However, once that has been established, may his name be obliterated.